Hello everybody, I hope you're all well. Welcome back to another Doctor Who figure review. We've not done one of these in quite a while, how exciting. In today's review I'm going to be taking a look at the latest Character Options online exclusive collector figure set, and that is the Ruins of Skaro, featuring the debut of the Mellan action figure alongside a re-release of the Destiny Dalek with the bombs around its midsection. The recommended retail price is £39.99, and I was really happy actually when this one was announced because it features some rather long-awaited characters to add to the classic shelf. My set came incredibly well packaged. There was the delivery box and then there was this Character Options shipment box on the inside, so very well protected, which was great news for me because I currently have an absolute maniac of a postman. The packaging for the Ruins of Skaro collector set is absolutely stunning. It is by far one of the best presented action figure collector sets that I've seen from Character in quite a number of years. I love the specially designed background. The preview window gives a great look at the action figures themselves. This would not look out of place on the shelves of Forbidden Planet in the golden years of the classic series action figure line. As a buyer, it instantly puts me in a good mindset that this is a product that is actually quality, rather than the recent B&M exclusive stuff, which packaging wise and display hasn't particularly looked the best. Within the bottom corner there is a TARDIS graphic as well as the features bubbles stating that this is from the 4th Doctor era. The title of the set is rather creative. I like it. It's better than just the Destiny of the Daleks collector set. It's in the bottom corner. This clearly presents that this is a Character Options online exclusive, and in the top corner the lovely Doctor Who logo. The vibrant white and blue colour scheme does continue around to the side of the box, whilst on the opposite side the preview window extends around to the side. We also have the alternative variation of the current Who logo, which I really like. The vast majority of the company information is hidden away at the bottom. Top of the box very much repeats exactly the same information. This set also marks a very welcome return for the regular plastic window. Flipping around to the back of the box, again a continued really lovely stylish presentation, and the same details are repeated towards the bottom, with the features bubbles presented once again. The combination of text and imagery on this back is really aesthetically pleasing. This really hones in on the fact that this is a set for collectors, although it has to be said this lovely diorama display with the figures and even the previously released Barry Newbury TARDIS there in the background, a wonderful piece of photography by Paul Gibb, is definitely the highlight of this packaging overall. Can't believe it's taken this long for Movellans to come out, but they're finally here, yay! Don't they look delightful? Brilliant design. Doctor Who fans do of course like to complain about everything, however all it takes is a little bit of cardboard with some nice printing on it and we're all of a sudden very happy. So here we have a lovely backdrop of the Movellans spaceship. Look, we've got Movellan guns, we've got control panel things, we've got screens with Daleks on, all sorts of stuff. A door there at the side, and we've even got Davros there calling in on Microsoft Teams as well. I've had this set out of the box now for a good few days, and I must admit, it reminds me of childhood. I absolutely love it. All three figures within this set are a joy to add to the shelf, and I'm really excited to take a look at them actually. Despite the re-release of the Bomber Dalek being exciting in itself, I'm sure the vast majority of collectors are all here for the Movellans, so we're going to be taking a look at both of them first. This is a very clever release because the Movellans are basically identical, and therefore when Character are struggling slightly with budget, I think this is a great idea for a release. I'm surprised it's not happened sooner. So throughout this section of the review I am going to be hopping between both of the figures to give them enough attention between them. Movellans boots are certainly a design choice, to put it politely. They are a vibrant white along with the rest of the Movellans uniform. Of course the Movellans are wandering around quarries throughout the vast majority of the story, so they have given them a little bit of a worn effect towards the bottom, although for some reason this is a rather vibrant yellow. Almost look like those leg protectors that people wear when playing cricket. They even have this little silver line there at the top. There's a slight sprinkling of silver on the back of the heel as well. There's not really too much going on here, to be honest. It is a rather standard sculpt, but it keeps with the Movellans' simplistic design. These do have this rather unusual sheen to them. They look rather metallic almost in design, a white metallic. It's very odd. Rotating around to the back, a very similar design, not really much going on there. The talking torsos now, both of the figures are exactly the same. The sculpt is really impressive, undeniably captures the material effect as seen on screen. We have this lovely vibrant white in the centre with that tubing design, complemented in a rather subtle fashion with that sort of glossy white there on the lower leg as well as around the top half of the torso. One of the main splashes of colour with, of course, this belt wrapped around the waist. waist. It's given this lovely vibrant silver highlight. The belt does of course also continue around to the back, although there's not really any further detailing on this. There's also these small dimples there on either side of the waist underneath the arms. I don't think they're meant to be there. I think it might be a plastic sculpting defect. In the centre we have this rather angular looking buckle, or it doesn't really stand out because it's the same colour to the rest of the belt. Have the power pack thing. This is a rather simple but effective design. G stands out quite a lot, particularly with those red and green dots. Sadly, this isn't removable. If I'm going to be picky, it would have been nice to be able to remove it, as in the story. When they do remove it, of course, they do that rather unusual dance. It was a bit odd really, come to think of it, but I know as a younger Doctor Who fan I adored the story, and I wish I could travel back in time to give my younger self these action figures, because I particularly enjoyed that moment. Finally, for the belt we have this little piece of plastic sticking out, and we're going to take a look at the accessories a little bit earlier than usual. For the Movellans, of course, come with their blasters. The entirety of the gun has been sculpted in this somewhat see-through plastic. It has a delightful pink hue to it. The design of the gun itself is a great reference to the shape of the spaceship as seen within the TV serial. Of course, we have this sequence of circular dishes going to the tip, getting progressively smaller. Of course, the lower half of the gun, the cup-style section, has been painted a light grey. This encloses the hand. Some fairly nice details on this. Even the detailing of that small clasp on the side to give the illusion that it clips onto the belt. Of course, that section doesn't. This bit does. Inside it is hollow. This does fit the hand, of course. A pillar there to wrap around. This is a little bit fiddly. So there is this little groove there cut out of either side of, and you can press it against the belt and slide it in. Then there you go. The gun is attached to the belt, which I think is really clever. In fairness, this isn't the securest design in the world. It does tend to come off at the slightest of knocks, so you know, if you've got it on the shelf, there you go, do be warned, it will fall off eventually. But unusually, probably one of the biggest critiques that I have with the Movellen action figures is the hands, which is something that I never normally pick on, but one of the hands has been sculpted in a rather standard looking open palm position, whilst the other is slightly more angled to accommodate the gun accessory. I have noticed that the most recent Character Options Doctor Who action figures appeared to have changed the style in the way that they sculpt hands, and whilst they are a little bit more in proportion, I do worry if they are strong enough. I have a very similar concern with the Fugitive Doctor from character released earlier this year. This is particularly a problem when you have a posed hand such as this one here, where one finger is outstretched and it just seems to be a little bit too vulnerable, a bit too exposed. I worry that this is going to snap. Especially when trying to place the blaster accessory into the Movellans hand, you kind of need to wedge it in underneath this small pillar there. It's incredibly flimsy and I just worry about breaking the fingers, and you need to properly push it on in order for the hand to actually hold the gun correctly. Otherwise it's at a bit of an angle, and that Movellans just died. As for the Movellans' main torso section, of course this is identical between both of the figures, which makes complete sense, and I think this is a really underestimated design. It speaks volumes that their outfits basically remained identical to their 70s appearance when they briefly reappeared within the 12th Doctor era. It just goes to show how effective yet simple it is. Detailing with this fabric effect on the central body and arms is really effective. Individual bands going across, but also the smaller lines in between, a thermal style design. Angling front piece of material kind of puts me in the mindset of a futuristic equivalent of Leela's costume from The Face of Evil. While towards the back, this is a much more rectangular design, although still sports this lovely fabric effect. It most certainly matches the on-screen appearance of looking considerably skin-tight, and to be honest, very uncomfortable. Fabric effect does also continue onto the figure's back. I've been trying to get this to show up on camera, but due to the lack of paint application it's rather difficult, but if you look closely there is two lumps here resembling shoulder blades, which I think is really, really impressive. Metallic shiny white section within the v-neck nicely divides up the sort of leotard costume, and then we also have that silver neck brace there as well. Without a doubt, probably my favourite detail across the entire outfit is the glow sticks attached to the shoulders, because the sculpt has really worked well with the paint to capture the cheapness of what's seen on screen. The green in particular that's been used, it's like creating this glowing appearance. And on top of that, the combination of the whites and the silvers really make it look like it's been rather hastily attached to the rest of the outfit. Arms are rather thin in build and look very robotic and straight in appearance. As you would expect, these continue that lovely material effect again, that banding with the individual line design in between those bands. As mentioned within the press release introductory video for this set, they wanted to draw a lot of attention to the fact that the Movellan design is almost perfect and everything about it is very simplistic, and I love how they've hidden the articulation. Let's talk head sculpts now. It's a rather unusual situation as, of course, the Movellans within the story are very much a unit. They don't really have individual character as such. They are pretty much an android clone style race. So we've got two of the generic sort of Movellans from the story, and they've been excellently recreated within the action figure form. Of course, character have started to move towards printing the plastic in the colour of that character's skin tone, which is a brilliant design choice. They tried to do it in the early years of character, particularly around Doctor Who Series 3. It didn't work as much, but I think they've definitely got the hang of it now. They've got rid of that waxy, sweaty appearance, and instead it looks considerably realistic, and it means that the paint application overall is specifically focusing on those smaller details surrounding the face, particularly for this figure, of course. We have that incredibly feminine, glamorous appearance. We have this wonderful sort of black eyeliner going on the rather vibrant light brown iris in the centre, complete with the white dots there, nice reflection. Equally, the eyebrows there at the top are also very nicely pointed, and the lips are a very vibrant pink. Because the face hasn't actually been painted, it means that you can see all of the bone structure. She has a rather defined cheekbone, looking very nice indeed. And then, of course, surrounding the rest of the head, we have that rather unmistakable Movellan hair, of course, that lighter grey. And it's a very interesting design because it looks very fake. It looks like a wig, much like how it did within the story, so it's very angular. But we do have the individual strands there, emphasised with a darkened wash over the top. It kind of has a almost beaded design, particularly with that silver highlight there towards the bottom. Very nice indeed. Naturally sort of falling onto the shoulder, some of it going behind and some of it going in front there over the front half of the main torso. And of course around the forehead we also have that rather dazzling looking fringe, complete once more with that silver dotted design. So moving across now to Movellan number 2, we have a very similar concept going on. Of course the hairpiece is exactly the same, but this time we have a different head. Again, the paint application is absolutely spot on. Her emotions are non-existent. She's I would say neutral, but she isn't. She's just not giving anything away whatsoever. But again, because the face hasn't actually been painted the skin colour, I think it just looks more lifelike. The colour is nicely bouncing off under the light, and I think it works very well, and I'm excited to see character moving forward with this design choice, especially when revisiting pre-existing sculpts, to see how much it improves previously released figures and breathes new life into them. Of course, moving around to the back again, exactly the same lovely details on the hair. This is the silver dots, lots and lots of silver, and yeah, a really nice head sculpt. I like it. Don't get me wrong, I love a good support character in a white leotard as much as any classic Doctor Who fan, but we do of course have a Dalek to take a look at in this set as well, a familiar friend from a long time ago. It's the Dalek with bombs around his midsection. This Dalek originally came out a long time ago within the 4th Doctor Adventure set, which I was incredibly shocked and disturbed to find out was in the summer of 2009. We are now in 2024, and quite frankly, that makes me want to have a crisis. The original version is incredibly rare, it's highly sought after, therefore a re-release has certainly been on the cards for quite a lot of Doctor Who fans for many years. Visually, it is notably different colour scheme-wise to the original release, which I personally think is really important. It's all about striking that balance and ultimately attracting and catering to both types of fan. Those that have dedicated many years to collecting this line and have the original release, but also providing the opportunity for fans that missed out originally to add this figure to their collection, but having a few colour changes here and there to distinguish it from the original. Original Dalek sported a fender that didn't have the lip in the centre. It's one piece in a matte black finish. The latest version is the 2-stack formation fender, and of course we have this exciting wash applied over the top. The original obviously has the bombs around its midsection. This has in fact been completely resculpted for the 2024 edition, although the same idea still does apply. The arrangement is more accurate to what is seen on screen, and of course the slats are a slightly different sculpt as well. Central circle is also painted on the latest version, and was present on the original. This was not painted. The original version was one of the first classic Dalek releases, therefore it doesn't have a particularly exciting dome light, it's just a rounded design, whilst the latest version uses the Mini Cooper ridged style dome light. The eye stalk is also a rather traditional sculpt on the first version, whilst the 2024 version uses a sculpt that was introduced within the B&M exclusive line. Arguably the biggest visual change of all is the colour scheme. The latest version of Summer Dalek adopts exactly the same colours to the B&M exclusives released previously, so this kind of greeny grey tint. And then we have the lighter, more chalky grey of the original releases. And therefore we've kind of concluded with this rather unusual situation where we have two separate ranks of Destiny Dalek. We have the lighter greys and then the greeny tint of the later releases. I do also find myself being slightly more impressed by the paint application on it compared to the previous Destiny B&M Daleks. It's to be in line a little bit more, particularly here on the midsection. We have the various struts there going up the centre, along with the individual discs. As always, the actual barrel is this matte black, usual texturing within it, looking very mesh in appearance. The dome of the Dalek doesn't have too much going on, it's just the same greeny grey tint. I do quite like the finish on this. It's not too glossy, but also not too matte. It doesn't have that powdery effect that the originals had. The dome lights are simply sculpted in a clear plastic. Maybe a slight frosting effect on these would have been nice, but the detailing's okay. This of the eye stalk is also this greeny grey tint. I love the individual discs. These have been nicely spaced there with that powder blue finish. Ending eye stalk tip is a glossy black. And again, the finish on the end of the eye stalk is rather neat. That white ring there in the centre, complete with the black pupil. The vast majority of people are of course looking at this Dalek because of the bombs wrapped around the midsection. These stand out quite a lot. Looking beyond the bombs for the moment, we do have the usual sort of slat and mesh midsection details. This has been rather sharply painted. Each slat has a rivet at the bottom and top, complete with a glossy black highlight. A tad picky, but I think it would have been quite nice to have a darkened wash on the mesh itself, just to make those details stand out a little bit more. There are 13 bombs spanning the circumference of the Dalek in total. All of them are exactly the same. Noting, bringing in the original Bomber Dalek for the moment, the yellow and orange seen on the original is actually a lot more vibrant. It stands out a lot more. Funnily enough, much like the rest of the colour palette, the colours have been toned down with the bombs this time. You will also notice the positioning on the latest version of the bombs is a lot different. It's a lot more sporadic, a little bit higgledy-piggledy. Giving the original a quick spin, you will notice all of the bombs are centred at the top of the slats. They're rather neatly placed onto the sculpt, and they're rather equally positioned as well. Meanwhile, bringing in the latest edition, we have one at the top there, one slightly down at an angle, then we have a little bit of a space, a few attached there, then we have a tight collection of 2, then a space, then 3. So it's a lot more randomised this time, and in turn a lot more accurate to the on-screen appearance. You can particularly see the positioning changes if you took the Dalek upwards. Here is the original one, and then bringing in the other, as you can see, it's a bit more all over the place. Ball joint nicely blends in with the rest of the Dalek due to it being the same base colour. As for the gun, this is the slightly bent inwards design given a glossy black paint application. Its stalk of the manipulator arm is also a glossy black, although the ending sucker section is actually a matte black, so that nicely divides up the colour mix. As I previously mentioned, we also have the circular section between the weaponry paint. It is certainly a lot neater than some of the Daleks that we've seen in the past. Something which I have covered when doing the history of the Daleks reviews is the wash. The worn effect that has been applied to the Daleks over the years has certainly been an improvement compared to the Forbidden Planet exclusives back in the day, which always had a rather pristine appearance, and a very similar compliment applies here. The glossy black as the base works very well, and we have this sort of scratched silver design applied over the top, making it look like it's been bashed around the BBC studio, it's a shame a similar thing can't be said for progressing further up the Dalek. All the hemispheres are rather pristine with this glossy black paint application. Fairness though, the quality control is really good, which is useful for a Dalek with a colour scheme like this, where any paint application leakages would stand out an absolute mile. It just would have been nice to have a muddied wash towards the bottom to give the piece a bit more character. Or even if it was simply just this scratched silver design seen on the hemispheres of the history of the Daleks Destiny releases from last year. So there we have it, that is my review of the Ruins of Skaro collector set. Overall, a brilliant addition to the shelf. The Movellans action figures are superb. I love the new sculpted detailing. The uniform excellently recreates what is seen on screen, the rather bizarre 70s minimalist but vibrant design. And I absolutely love the head sculpts. I think particularly the skin coloured plastic works very well, and I'm excited to see this applied in the future. The accessories are also nice as well. I love the way that you can attach it to the belt. I think it's superb. It's by far actually some of the best classic action figures that we've seen in years. As for the Bomber Dalek, this is a great opportunity to add a previously rare Dalek to your collection, and if you have the original, it also sports a number of worthy changes to go alongside the latest B&M exclusive Destiny Dalek releases. So I think certainly this set provides something for everyone, those that have been collecting the line since its very origins, but also the newer collectors as well. I think that the Bomber Dalek in particular is a great balance to cater to both different types of fan. Thank you very much for watching this review. I really hope you have enjoyed it. Do of course stay tuned on The Host Productions for regular Doctor Who content. Have a nice day. I shall see you all next time.